Hello again, everybody. This is Derek, and I am coming back at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. And in today's video, I'm going to test some Mod Podge, which I put in this Elmer's bottle, but this is Mod Podge. And this is Mod Podge and water. So I've got like a 50% Mod Podge and water in this bottle. And then this bottle is Elmer's glue, Elmer's, PVA white glue. And in this bottle, I've got Aleene's tacky glue. Now what I'm going to do is, on each of these bases, I'm going to glue I'm going to glue my Brunswickers onto these bases, and each base will have a different glue because we're going to be running a test. Because as you might know, I'm rebasing a lot of my Napoleonics figures, and in the process, I'm noticing that it's taking a long time for the white glue to dry. And I was using the Mod Podge on these guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it, and then I'm going to write, I got a card here that I'm going to write down each type of glue, and then I'm going to track the time in which it takes to dry. The way I'm going to track it is I'm going to glue them down, right? I'm going to give them a little while to adhere, and then as you can tell that these are not dry, right? But I'm going to grab a base, I'm going to pick it up and see if I can pick it up. And as soon as I can, I'll mark the time down, and I would call that dry to the touch, even though I'm not touching the glue. And at that point, I would be able to put texture paste on there if I wanted. Because even though the texture paste would be on top of the white glue, it would still allow the white glue to dry as well as the texture paste. So everything would still dry. It would just dry a lot slower. But I'm not going to put the texture paste on there. We're going to just test the adherence at a certain point and in a couple hours to make sure that they all stick. And then later, I will, after about 11 to 12 hours, I'm going to visually take a look at all of them, at all 4 of these, and see if the glues have dried thoroughly to where it was a clear finish. And if not, I would also mark that as clear. But then I'm also, because it's Mod Podge, it's Elmer's, it's 50% mix. I use this for flocking normally. And then tacky glue. What I'm going to do after 12 hours is I'm going to test its, not durability, but like adherence. I'm going to grab probably one of the standards, and I'm going to kind of shake it around and see if the figure comes off. Actually, the flags are all going to be on one stand, so that's going to be one glue. So I would have to grab a figure on one of the other stands, and I'm going to shake it and see if it separates. I'm afraid that this Mod Podge mixed with water is going to be the fastest drying, but I'm also, which is a good thing, but I'm afraid it's going to have the easiest way to pop off the base. It might not. It might be just as good as all these others, because remember, it doesn't have to be super strong, mainly because once it's dry to the touch, I would be able to put a texture paste on there, a lot like, what I put on under these bases, where the texture paste would actually hold the figure down. It would secure the figure to the base even better than the glue, actually. And then I'll put my flock on top of that with even more glue. I just want to see if any of them will just pop off willy-nilly. That's really what I'm checking for. Let's go ahead and I'm going to adjust the camera just slightly so that I can get my little fat ass over here. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do far left is going to be Mod Podge. Okay, so I'm just going to put mod. That's going to be my far left one. Then I'm going to do Mod Podge 50%. That's my water and Mod Podge mix, and that's what I normally use for putting on the grass on the bases. And then I'm going to use Elmer's. I'll just put that down as PVA, mainly because Mod Podge is a PVA, but it also has a resin mix inside of it, actually. It's got kind of a different composition than Elmer's. And then we're going to use tacky glue, and I'm just going to put TG over on the right. And so I got my card with all the BS on it. Let's go ahead and glue everything down. And then I'll write the time down where we start the clock. Now, because this is my 2nd Battalion Brunswick line, I'm still going to be playing with these. So what I need to do is organize them. Give me a second. I'm going to organize them, and then I'll be right back. All right, guys, I've got them separated the way I wanted. Basically, I tried to spread the poses out, you know, between bases. But that's not why we're here. We're here to test the glue. Now, what I'm doing is I just put like a 2 columns of glue, and I'm going to do that with all of them. But we're going to do one base at a time. Okay, so I got one of the stands with the figures. Now I'm basically repositioning them. If they're too close together or too far back or too far forward. Okay, this looks really good. So I'm going to set that off to the side. That's the Mod Podge base. Okay, the next base is the Mod Podge 50%. I am going to shake this one up because it has water in it, and the glue and the water will settle, and so you want to make sure that, you know, it gets mixed up. And you can see how it's a little bit more liquidy. Okay, let me line this up. All right, so now I need to like organize them to make sure they're not too close or not too far apart, not too far back, but also not too far forward. All right, I think that one looks good. It does. So we'll set that off to the side. Now I'm going to try to keep them in order so that put a little 1 there, put a little 2 there, and here I might put a 3. It's okay to write on it because once I put the texture paste, it would cover that. All right, so what I say the next one is going to be? Okay, the next one is going to be Elmer's. It's going to be a straight up Elmer's. Okay, and this actually seems to be a little bit thicker than even the Mod Podge. Okay, now this is going to be the command stand. I've already decided this flag is going to go, and this flag is going to be in the back with the drummers. All right, now I got these guys organized and adjusted so that they look good. And that was Elmer's. And then the last thing is going to be tacky glue, which should be extremely thick, grippy. So if you ever have a figure that doesn't want to stand up, tacky glue is a good, uh, not alternative, but like a good option to hold it steady. Okay, so that's got about the same amount of glue as everything else. Okay, now these are in place. So let me straighten them out and adjust them, because I want them to be separated and not all the way against the back of the base, but also not cramped up to the other figures. And I want them walking straight. Of course. Like that guy's not walking straight. There we go. Okay, those guys look good. All right, so based on my watch, it was 149. So I'm just going to say 150. So 150 is when the glue was applied, 1 p.m., almost 2 p.m. And now I'm going to let that sit. I'm going to let it dry. And periodically through the day, I'm going to be testing these for their adherence. I'm going to give them at least an hour before I start making any tests, because I don't want to just yank any figures off. So we're going to let that sit for an hour. I'll come back. It's not going to be on camera. I'm going to turn the camera back on in 12 hours. So stay tuned. In just a minute, I'll come back in 12 hours and I will reveal all the results for what had happened. So what are some of the milestones that we're looking for? Let me write that down real quick while I'm thinking about it. I was thinking that I want to test dry to the touch. That's just being able to lift it up without, shaking it or anything, just lifting it up. That's dry to the touch. So, dry to the touch. DTTT. Okay. That's just a simple lift and make sure everything comes with it. And whatever time that is for each of these, then that's what I'll jot down. Okay, the next milestone is going to be when it clears up. So I'm going to I'm going to write clear. So when the glue actually becomes clear, then we know that it's fully dry, not partially dry. And then at 12 hours, right? I'm just going to put 12 hours. At 12 hours, which would be approximately 2 in the morning, what we'll do is I will pick one of these models up and I will kind of gently shake it just to see if it breaks free. So that's going to be the 12-hour break test. Okay, so, but these are all going to be done off camera. And then at 12 hours, I'm going to turn the camera back on to do the break test on camera. But the clear and the dry to the touch, I'm going to do off camera. And it's probably not going to be the same time for every figure or for every glue. Well, that's the rub, right? We're going to double check. Okay, so let me let these dry and I'll be back in 12 hours. All right, we are back. I do want to admit that we are back after 24 hours. I had gone to sleep and I did not wake up at 2 a.m. to do this video. So, so this is actually a 24-hour dry time. Let's go ahead and go over some notes I have before I do a vigorous test of its strength. If you remember, we used Mod Podge on this first one, and we used a Mod Podge water 50% mix on this one. And then on this one, I used the straight Elmer's glue PVA. And then on this one, I had used the tacky glue from Aliens, you know, like the tacky glue. Remember, we started at about 150, so I'm just going to round it off and say 2 o'clock, just to be general. So around 2 o'clock, I had glued all these down, and by 3 o'clock, the tacky glue was what I call dry to the touch, which means I could pick up the models and there would be no problem. I mean, without being too aggressive. If I just gently pick them up at 3 o'clock, that would be fine. These were not able to be picked up at 3 o'clock, so that was actually a 1 hour speed dry, or ready to go. Because at that point, I could have put like texture on there or something like that, or I could let it dry even more. But right behind it was the Mod Podge at 310. At 310, it was dry to the touch, and I was able to pick it up. So that one, these two were almost identical in that 3 o'clock, 310. But because I glued this one first, and then I glued this one, and then I glued this one, and then I glued this one, I don't really remember, I don't know exactly how much time between the glues were, but probably 5 minutes or so. So we could say easily 20 minutes, let's just say, or 15 minutes. Let's say 15 minutes. If I add 15 minutes to this one because it was first, it would be almost an hour, a half hour behind the Aliens Tacky Glue. So the Aliens Tacky Glue was much faster to dry to the touch. This goes against my theory that the watered down glue was going to be first. It actually was not. And then the next step was I was waiting till the glue had dried clear. And you can see now, looking at these guys, the glue has dried clear. There's no white shining. Well, you wouldn't expect it after 24 hours. To dry clear, oh no, let me back up. The next one to be dry to the touch was the PVA. You could go kind of like that. So this one was first, this one was second, this one was definitely third, almost an hour after these. It had much slower dry to the touch where I could just grab a model and pick up the stand. So that was definitely an eye opener at that the Mod Podge and the tacky glue were, well, I almost do all my gluing with Mod Podge, but I might start doing it if I might start doing it with the tacky glue. Yeah, it's a toss up between these two. But the PVA is okay if you're just willing to wait that little extra hour. Okay, and then finally, the dry to the touch, watered down Mod Podge. It's approximately 50-50. Did not dry for me to be able to pick this up till approximately 7 o'clock. That would be 5 hours after I initially glued it down. So 5 hours, I was able to pick this up without because every time I went to pick up a model, it would peel off the base until about 7 o'clock. And at that point, I was able to pick it up. That actually shocked me. I thought the watered down PVA would dry a lot faster, mainly because I use it or have been using it for my flocking, and it dries pretty quickly when I do the flocking. So I don't know. I don't know about that. So that was pretty alarming. Now the next level that I was concerned with was, and it's not a concern, it was just I was just testing it out to see when it actually does dry clear. At that point, these three, because at 7 is when I checked this, and it wasn't. I mean, it successfully. I could pick it up, but it was still white. There was white all over this base, where these bases were all clear at 7 o'clock. So in a 5-hour period, they had all dried clear. That now I understand that there might have been a little bit of clear and a little bit of not clear, kind of like this base right here. You can see that the glue is dried clear in some places, but it's still white in others. And I would not count that as clear for the purpose of this test. But at 7 o'clock, these three were completely 100% clear. So 5 hours clear. This one was not clear at 7 o'clock. It was able to be picked up like this, but it still had white spots. And the 7 o'clock was the last time I had tested it. I had gone to bed hoping that I would get up at 2 a.m. to do the 12-hour test, and I did not, right? So after 24 hours, from 2 to 2, it had dried clear, okay? So after 24 hours, it successfully dried clear. Now, I'm not concerned with the humidity in the house or the wind or any of that, because they were all affected by the same humidity. So that is one variable that is negated because they were all the same. The bases were all the same. They're all the MDF from War Bases. The figures are all the same. They're from Old Glory. The only difference, the only variable was the actual glue itself. Okay, so by 7 o'clock, these guys were dried clear, and by the next morning, this had dried clear. So now, finally, the last test that I want to do is strength. Now, I don't want to get in there, and I don't know how I want to do the strength. I don't know if I want to just try to break the figures off of the bases, or just grab them and start peeling on them to see if they'll come off easy or not easy. I'm not sure exactly if I want to bother with that, but the first thing I want to do is shake the figures, right? So I'm going to grab one figure on this base, and I'm just going to give it a good shake. Okay, that seems pretty good. I'm going to skip this one because reasons. We're going to go with this base. This guy's got his musket up. Something easy to grab a hold of. I'm going to shake it. I'm going to shake it. I'm going to shake it. Seems pretty good. Seems like there's no problem. Now we go with the tacky glue. I'm going to grab this guy on the end. Good grip. Shake. I don't have a problem with that. That he's pretty strong. Now let's take a look at this. Now remember, I would have shook this after 12 hours, but because it was 24 hours, this guy might have actually successfully dried on there. So let's grab a figure and let's shake. Yeah, okay, it still works. It just took a lot longer to dry. Well, and that's okay. If you have time to spare, you can thin your glue out, 50-50, and you can actually get double your glue coverage with the watered down glue, and it will still hold those figures nicely onto the base. When you put the texture paste on, or any kind of putty or whatever you do to fill up the gaps between the figure bases, that's also going to add additional strength to holding your figures down. Because at this stage, all you really care about, or at least me, all I really care about is the figures are stuck in the position where I want them, and that I still need to do texturing. So I can grab the base by the figures, right? Which normally I'd try not to ever do, especially when I'm handling other people's figures. I try to pick it up by the base if I can, or I try to just push figures across the table by the base. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So actually, they all dried pretty strong. Now, do I want to go in and try to peel a figure off? I don't think I want to, because I plan to use these in my Quatre Bras battle, and I want to keep these units, so I don't think I want to damage them and have to repair them. All I need to do now is put texture paste on them and flock them, and they will be up. That'll be a perfect battalion for my some of my Brunswick, the second line, if I remember right. What I mark them down as Brunswick second line. All right. Well, I hope this helps you out. I've got it written down right here. I don't know if you can. Let me see if I can put that in a way where the lighting. All right, that was the results. Hopefully you can read my writing, but we had initially placed the glue at 150, and this was Mod Podge 50%, PVA, and then tacky glue, and then this is dry to the touch, and you can see this one was first, this one was second, and then PVA was third, and then Mod Podge was way later at 7. Now, when they had dried clear, it was at 7 o'clock when I checked. They were all clear, except for this 50%er, which was just barely dry to the touch and had white showing. And then by the, I thought I was going to do 12 hours, but it wound up being 24 hours. It was a break test, and you just witnessed that. They all survived the break test. Okay, I hope that helps when you're considering choosing a glue and when you're actually mounting your figures. And I really strongly, I don't know how strong I can recommend this, do not use super glue when basing your figures on a base, because you never know, maybe later you'll have to rebase them. And if you do, that super glue is just going to be a pain in the behind. All right, guys, thanks for coming out and hanging out with me in this video, and I will catch you. Let me just say this. I've been doing quite a bit of videos. I have what's called the Wargaming Weekly, that I try to do like a live stream every morning, or at least, a couple of times a week in the morning around 9 a.m. Central Time, approximately, where I work on either terrain for my battle boards, or I work on figures like rebasing figures, or I work on flocking or painting even, or sometimes I'll sit down with my crew and we'll talk about the rules that I'm writing, which is Marshals and Generals. And that is exactly what these figures are based for. It's my rules, Marshals and Generals. Now, if you're interested in figures like this, you should visit my eBay store, which is right here. And if you're interested in me maybe painting some figures for you, or basing them even, contact me at my email address, or look at the description in the comments below, in the description below, and you'll see like what prices I charge and things like that. And if that's something that you want done, you can drop me a message and send me some figures to paint for you, and I'll be glad to paint those for you. All right, well, thanks for coming out and checking this out. Also, check out my X, which is actually right here, and I will see you in the next video.